The Alaskan summer brought endless daylight and the looming expiration of their contract marriage. Dahlia had delayed the Stockholm position, returning instead to complete her research and fulfill her obligation. Their once comfortable silence had hardened into something brittle and painful. They orbited each other like distant planets, connected by invisible forces neither acknowledged. Nikolai buried himself in work, while Dahlia documented the final results of their joint project, a monitoring system that was already generating interest from conservation groups worldwide. "The divorce papers are ready," Nikolai announced one evening, placing a folder on the dining table. "You'll find the terms match our original agreement, with additional provisions for your continued research funding." Dahlia nodded, not trusting herself to speak. In 3 days, their year would be complete. The marriage that had begun as a business transaction would end the same way, neat, efficient, emotionless. Except it wasn't emotionless. Not anymore. That night, a rare summer storm knocked out the power. Dahlia found Nikolai on the deck, watching. "Lightning illuminate the mountains. I received a call from Stockholm," she said, joining him. "They've extended their offer. You should take it." His voice betrayed nothing. "Even though it violates our agreement?" "The agreement ends in 3 days. You'll be free to go wherever you choose. Free." The word felt hollow. "I completed the final." "Report on our project," she said. "The results exceeded expectations. Your grandfather would have been proud." Nikolai's hands tightened on the railing. "He would have been more interested in whether his experiment with me succeeded." "And did it?" Lightning flashed, illuminating the torment in his eyes. "I don't know." The storm passed, leaving the night sky clear. As darkness finally fell near midnight, the first shimmer of summer aurora appeared, unusual for the season, a dancer of green and purple light across the velvet sky. "In Siberia," Nikolai said softly, "they say unseasonable lights mean the ancestors have an urgent message." Dahlia stepped closer. "What message do you think they're sending?" "That some contracts can't account for all variables." His eyes met hers. "I miscalculated, Dahlia." "What variable did you miss?" "You." His voice broke slightly. "I designed our arrangement to protect the foundation while keeping emotional entanglements at bay. I never expected to feel something real," she finished. The aurora rippled above them, painting his face in otherworldly light. "I've spent my life building systems to predict outcomes, control variables, but I couldn't control this." Dahlia touched his face. "Maybe some things aren't meant to be controlled." "Stockholm is an exceptional opportunity," he said, covering her hand with his. "You deserve it." "What if I want something else? Something not in our original agreement? What would that be?" "A real marriage. Not for your grandfather's trust, or my research funding. Just for us." For a moment, he was still. Then his arms encircled her, pulling her close as if she might disappear. "I'm not easy to love," he whispered against her hair. "I'm not asking for easy. I'm asking for real." Above them, the aurora pulsed and swirled. Ancestral spirits or atmospheric phenomenon, it didn't matter. What mattered was the truth it illuminated. That some contracts are written not on paper but on hearts, with terms that extend far beyond a single year. "Then let's tear up those divorce papers," Nikolai said, "and write something new, something real." Beneath the dancing northern lights, they sealed their new agreement with a kiss, one that promised not convenience or arrangement, but a future neither had calculated for, yet both now desired more than anything they'd planned. Shattered notes. The fluorescent lights of Westlake Conservatory's East Wing cast harsh shadows across Olivia Reed's exhausted face as she placed her worn leather case on the polished marble floor. 6 hours of practice had left her fingers aching, but she couldn't afford the luxury of rest. In 2 days, she would audition for the prestigious Stillwater Symphony alongside hundreds of other pianists, all vying for a single open seat. Olivia brushed a strand of auburn hair from her face, gathering the scattered sheet music that had become her constant companion. The partial teaching position covered her rent, but every extra dollar mattered. Her father's medical bills had taught her that money and music were inseparable, no matter how much artists liked to pretend otherwise. The walk across the conservatory grounds blurred past in a haze of streetlights and autumn leaves. Olivia clutched her coffee, its warmth fading as quickly as her dreams seemed to be. At 32, she was becoming what every musician feared: talented but undiscovered, passionate but overlooked. She parked her weathered Volvo between two gleaming luxury cars, a stark reminder that she didn't belong in this world of privilege. Westlake Conservatory rose before her like a cathedral to musical excellence, its Gothic architecture intimidating in the morning light. Inside the main hall, nervous energy buzzed as students rushed to classes. Olivia made her way to the administrative office, her resume clutched tightly in her hand. "Ms. Reed?" The receptionist smiled. "Director Blackwood will see you now." Olivia stepped into an office dominated by a grand piano and floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. Her eyes were drawn immediately to the man standing by the window. Tall, imposing, with silver threading through his dark hair despite appearing to be only in his early 40s. Julian Blackwood turned, his expression unreadable as he studied her. His reputation preceded him, the brilliant composer who had transformed a failing conservatory into one of the nation's most elite institutions, a man whose single critique could make or break careers. "Ms. Reed," his voice was deep and precise, like the bass notes of a perfectly tuned piano, "your application was unexpected." Olivia straightened her shoulders. "I understand you need a temporary instructor for the winter semester?" "Yes, though we typically hire from within our alumni network." His eyes, a startling shade of gray, assessed her with clinical detachment. "Your technical credentials are impressive, but Westlake demands excellence beyond mere proficiency." "With respect, Director Blackwood, my experience at Juilliard was 10 years ago," he finished, moving toward the piano. "Music requires currency, Ms. Reed. What have you accomplished since then?" The question hung between them, sharp as a newly tuned string. Olivia felt heat rise to her cheeks, but refused to look away. She had learned long ago not to be intimidated by powerful men who thought their pedigree made them untouchable. "Play something," he said suddenly, gesturing to the piano. Without hesitation, Olivia sat at the bench. Her fingers hovered over the keys for just a moment before she began Chopin's Nocturne in C-sharp minor. Not the showpiece most would choose, but the piece that had saved her during her darkest days. As the final notes faded, a heavy silence filled the room. Julian stood motionless, his expression transformed by something Olivia couldn't quite name. "You play with pain," he said finally. "Interesting choice." "Music without emotion is just noise, Director Blackwood." Their eyes locked, and for a brief moment, something electric passed between them. Julian broke the connection first, walking briskly to his desk. "The position is yours, Ms. Reed. Classes begin Monday." He handed her a folder without looking at her again. "Don't make me regret this decision." As Olivia left his office, the weight of the folder in her hands felt like possibility and danger in equal measure. She had no idea that her brief audition had just altered the course of her life forever. 3 weeks into her position at Westlake, Olivia found herself constantly aware of Julian Blackwood's presence. He appeared unexpectedly during her classes, lingering at the back of the room, his critical gaze following her every movement. Students straightened their posture when he entered, their young faces a mixture of fear and reverence. Late one evening, while grading student compositions, Olivia heard haunting piano music drifting from the recital hall. The melody was unlike anything she'd encountered, raw, complex, with a mathematical precision that somehow amplified rather than diminished its emotional impact. Drawn to the sound, she followed it through the empty corridors. The massive doors were slightly ajar, revealing Julian at the grand piano, his tall frame hunched over the keys. His fingers moved with a strange, almost painful deliberation, as if each note cost him something personal. Scattered around him were not traditional sheet music, but what appeared to be glass fragments arranged in patterns on black velvet. Olivia must have made a sound because Julian's head snapped up, his hands freezing mid-chord. "Ms. Reed," he acknowledged, quickly covering the glass pieces with a cloth. "It's nearly midnight." "I'm sorry for interrupting," she said, stepping into the hall despite his obvious desire for privacy. "That composition, it's extraordinary." Julian's expression remained guarded, but something in his eyes shifted. "It's unfinished." "May I?" Olivia gestured to the piano bench. After a moment's hesitation, Julian moved aside. Their shoulders nearly touched as she sat beside him. The proximity made her heart race unexpectedly. "The glass pieces," she ventured. "They're your notation system?" Julian studied her face, as if deciding whether she could be trusted. "Yes," he finally said. "I see music in patterns of light and refraction. Traditional notation has always felt insufficient." He hesitantly revealed the velvet cloth. Arranged on it were broken pieces of colored glass, some clear, others in jewel tones, positioned in what seemed like random patterns to the untrained eye. "Synesthesia," Olivia whispered, recognizing the neurological phenomenon where senses cross-connect. "You see sound." Julian nodded, his guard lowering slightly. "Few people understand. They think it's affectation." "Show me," she requested, her fingers hovering above the glass without touching. Something vulnerable crossed Julian's face as he guided her hand to a piece of cobalt blue glass. "This is middle C in Adagio," he explained. "But when it follows this amber piece," he positioned her fingers over another fragment, "it becomes something entirely different." For the next hour, Julian revealed his method, translating glass patterns into sound, while Olivia listened, entranced. Their hands occasionally brushed, sending unexpected warmth through her fingers. "Why broken glass?" she finally asked. Julian's expression darkened. 15 years ago, my wife and daughter were killed when a drunk driver crashed into our home. I found them surrounded by broken glass from our front window." His voice remained controlled but hollow. "Afterward, I couldn't bear to touch a piano. Then one day, I arranged the glass pieces from the accident and suddenly saw the music in them." Olivia's throat tightened with emotion. "Your compositions are beautiful because they come from real pain." "Pain transformed," Julian corrected, softly. His eyes met hers with unexpected warmth. "You understand that, don't you? I heard it in your Chopin." Their faces were inches apart, the air between them charged with recognition of kindred spirits. For a breathless moment, Olivia thought he might lean closer. Instead, Julian stood abruptly. "It's late. I should walk you to your car." As they crossed the moonlit campus, Olivia realized something had fundamentally shifted between them. Director Blackwood was becoming Julian, a man with wounds that matched her own, whose music spoke a language she instinctively understood.